This is my gardening project. In this garden, I have Nightshade or Managu. I have Saget. I have Coriander or Dhania. I have green onions or spring onions. I have Kale or Sukuma wiki. I also have Dodo or what we call Amaranth. And on this farm, I started planting Managu on this side, but for some reason, they did not do so well. But on the lower side, I have spinach and onions, or what we call collard greens, I think. I also have volunteer plants like this. The amaranth, I did not plant amaranth, but they decided to sprout. So I call them my volunteer vegetables. They volunteered to be on my farm. Since I eat them, I will not treat them as weeds, but I will nurture them and harvest in due time. If you look at these vegetables, I did not have a nursery. I planted directly. That means that I will have to do pruning to allow the rest to grow very well. I also have weeds growing on my garden. So today I'm also going to do weeding. So pruning and weeding to allow the other plants enough space and nutrients to grow. And what is so irritating is that the weeds are doing much better than my plants. So it's time for them to go. They have taken enough from this garden. If I cannot eat it, it better leave. The amaranth grew on their own, but I'm not going to remove them because I do eat amaranth leaves. You can see how densely the dense growth on the farm or the garden. That's because on this side it did not have much growth. It's not that I've done the weeding on this side, but for some reason, maybe there was a shade from that big tree. Whatever I planted here did not sprout well. On the other side, you can see there's a bit of greenery. Those are my cowpeas, or what we call kunde in Kiswahili. The cowpeas are doing quite well. So this is after the weeding process. As you can see, the kale leaves are now standing out on their own. I've removed the weeds and now they seem to be having space to grow. And I hope that this evening, when the rains fall, because I can see the rains are coming, then they will straighten up again. And you can see I've removed quite a bit of vegetation. Most of them were weeds, painfully. But now I hope the plants will do much better. The ones that have, these are the coriander. They will do much better now that I've done away with the weeds that were suppressing them. So let's hope for the best. These are my coriander. They were being suffocated, and my green onions. There is one invasive weed that was just everywhere. Okay, so this is after weeding and pruning because I had to take away some of my plants. On this side, I've given them time because they're still quite young. I will come back to them. Okay, so this is where my spinach wall is, and I've also removed quite a bit of weeds. I think I will have to do a weekly routine weeding so that the plants that are there may grow well. On the other side, those are my A students. They are doing quite well, the cowpeas. They have suppressed weeds, so I didn't do much weeding on them. They have grown vigorously, and I am quite proud of them. So generally, this is my garden. It is divided into three, as you can see. On one side, I have my kales, my sageti, and my nightshade or managu. And in between, I also planted green onions. They are there to prevent pests because when you plant green onions in between them, somehow they keep away most of the pests and diseases. And also, I love green onions in my salads, in my food. I also found, like I said, I found some volunteer plants like the amaranth. These ones I'll keep them because they're good vegetables. And as you can see, I also have my kales growing quite well, my spinach growing quite well. These are the kales, you can see. They're doing quite well. Just waiting for the rains to fall again. Okay. The weeds did them bad, but now they're standing up on their own. And we also have the coriander on the other side, the Saget bordering them from the other side. I decided to do this so that to control weeds, a bit of intercropping, very important. So that is the first part of the garden. The second part of the garden is here. This is where we have the spinach. The spinach were quite challenging to weed. There is also a bit of amaranth on this side. I've noticed that when we have pests, they would rather attack the amaranth than the kale. So that also helps. If I have the onions and the amaranth, they will keep away the pests from the more delicate spinach leaves. Okay. Spinach is so sensitive. Also there I have another volunteer tomato plant growing. I will not uproot it. That's the second part of the garden. As you can see, there is a shadow there that is most likely suppressing the most of the vegetables that I sowed or I planted. On this side, we have the third part of the garden where as I said, my vigorously growing cowpeas are found. They do their own housekeeping. They suppress the weeds. They are nitrogen fixers. I just love them on my soil. And I have already pruned them. As you can see, there's a bit of spaces between them. And by pruning, I also cut off the topical buds, the buds on top, so that they can spread out instead of growing tall. They will spread out and cover most of the ground, so I will not have to worry about the weeds, and I will also not have to worry about them seeding too early, producing seeds too early. And here are the vegetables that I pruned from the garden. As you can see, I've already washed and cut them, and they are ready to be cooked. So just from that small garden pruning, I have my supper. And for those who remember, I used to have the kienyeji or the indigenous chicken in my compound, but I took them to my rural home where there is more space and more grass for them to feed on. They'll be happier there. Okay, so this place has remained empty because I'm planning to move on to a different project of broiler farming. This is Gucci. Gucci is pretending to be very innocent here, but he's not. He's the one who's been making noise throughout my videos.
That's it from Gucci and I. Remember to subscribe and like our videos. Until next time, bye.